The 1960s and 70s ushered in big changes for women in America, from family life to the workplace to reproductive rights.
Most of us grew up trusting what we were taught about history in school. However, history is rarely that simple. After all, you've probably heard the saying, history is written by the victors. So in this video, we're taking a closer look at some of the most famous historical stories people have accepted for generations and uncovering what really happened. Let's dive in. America versus Nazis. Most people believe America stood together against Nazi Germany from the very beginning of World War II. The truth was far more complicated. Before Pearl Harbor, many Americans did not want to join the war at all. President Franklin Roosevelt strongly supported helping the fight against Hitler. But famous aviator Charles Lindbergh pushed the opposite view. He became one of the most visible voices against entering the war. A deeper story was unfolding behind the scenes. In February 1939, around 20,000 American Nazis gathered inside Madison Square Garden. At the same time, students at Yale helped create the America First movement. The group quickly grew to more than 800,000 members. Future leaders like Gerald Ford and John F. Kennedy joined its ranks. Many supporters simply wanted to avoid another war. Others openly supported fascist ideas or held anti-Semitic views. Modern history often remembers one united nation. Reality looked very different. America was deeply divided long before Pearl Harbor changed everything forever. Mrs. O'Leary's cow. In October 1871, one of the worst disasters in American history tore through the city of Chicago. The Great Chicago Fire burned for 2 days and left a trail of destruction behind it. Around 300 people died. Nearly 100,000 people lost their homes. More than 2,000 acres turned into black ashes. As fear spread across the city, people wanted someone to blame. A story soon appeared that seemed too perfect to ignore. Newspapers claimed that Catherine O'Leary, an Irish immigrant who sold milk for a living, owned the cow that started the fire by knocking over a lantern. The story raced across the country and became accepted as fact. But the truth was far less certain. An official investigation later found no proof showing who started the fire. Years passed, and some reporters admitted they had invented parts of the story or trusted unreliable witnesses. Another name slowly entered the picture. Some people began to suspect Daniel "Peg Leg" Sullivan, the man who first reported the fire. In 1997, the Chicago City Council officially cleared Catherine O'Leary and her cow, Rosa Parks. Most people learned the same story about Rosa Parks. A tired woman got on a bus, refused to give up her seat, and changed history in a single moment. It's a powerful story, but it leaves out a lot of what really happened. Years later, Rosa Parks explained that she wasn't tired from work that day. She said she was tired of giving in. By the time she was arrested, Parks was already a respected civil rights activist and an active member of the NAACP. She understood exactly how Montgomery's bus system worked and how unfair its rules were. Black passengers could be forced to give up their seats whenever the white section became full. And Rosa Parks was not the first person to challenge those rules. Earlier that same year, a 15-year-old girl named Claudette Colvin had refused to give up her seat and was arrested. But community leaders believed Rosa Parks could unite even more support behind the growing civil rights movement. So when Parks refused to stand, it was far more than a spontaneous act. It was a moment built on years of activism, planning, and determination. Pilgrim Corps. Think back to the Thanksgiving plays many of us saw as children. Pilgrims usually appeared in black and white clothes, tall black hats, and shiny buckles. That image feels so familiar that most people never stop to question it. Over time, those costumes became part of the story itself. A surprising truth sits behind that famous picture. Historian Caleb Johnson explained that the real pilgrims did not dress in only black and white. They wore many different colors and styles, just like other people of their time. Their clothing looked far more varied than the simple outfits shown in classrooms. The story becomes even more interesting when we follow where that image came from. During the early 1800s, artists tried to paint the pilgrims even though they had never seen them. One of those artists was Michel Felice Cornet. Many painters filled their artwork with clothing that looked familiar to people living in their own era. Those paintings spread widely and shaped public memory for generations. In the end, millions remembered the artwork instead of the reality, and a visual mistake slowly transformed into accepted history. Women's role in America. Many people grow up believing that women mostly stayed at home until modern feminism changed everything. School lessons often paint that picture, but history tells a much larger story. Long before the Industrial Revolution, families treated work and home as the same place. Women helped grow food, make goods, manage farms, and support family businesses every day. Their labor helped entire communities survive and grow. A forgotten part of history starts to appear when we look closer. Even by the turn of the century, women held 1/4 of industrial jobs and half of agrarian jobs. Then new labor laws and changing social ideas pushed the belief that men should earn money while women should stay home. That image slowly became the dominant story. The truth remained hidden in plain sight. The Women's Rights Convention of 1848 showed that women had already spent generations fighting for recognition. Baseball invention. Many baseball fans grew up hearing the same story. A man named Abner Doubleday invented baseball all by himself, giving America its own national sport. The only problem is that it probably isn't true. The real story began in 1903, when baseball writer Henry Chadwick argued that the game had evolved from older British sports like cricket and rounders. His explanation made sense, but not everyone accepted it. He believed baseball had to be completely American and wanted a national origin story that people could celebrate. So a commission was formed to investigate the game's beginnings. In 1907, much of its conclusion relied on a letter from a man named Abner Graves. He claimed that he had seen Doubleday create baseball in Cooperstown, New York in 1839. For a while, many people believed him. Then researchers discovered a major problem. Records showed that Doubleday was attending West Point in 1839, nowhere near Cooperstown. At the same time, evidence pointed to Alexander Cartwright as one of the key figures who helped shape the modern game. Yet despite the facts, the Doubleday story survived. Mahatma Gandhi. For many years, schools presented Mahatma Gandhi as a man who could do no wrong. People around the world admired him for leading India's struggle against British rule through peaceful resistance. His image became so powerful that many people stopped looking beyond the legend. A different side of the story later drew serious attention. Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Joseph Lelyveld explored Gandhi's life in a biography that sparked controversy, especially in Gujarat. Historians began revisiting parts of his record that rarely appeared in textbooks. Some of the strongest criticism focused on his years in South Africa. During that period, Gandhi wrote statements that many modern readers view as racist toward black Africans. In one account, he complained about being placed in jail with black prisoners and described them in deeply offensive ways. He also expressed support for racial separation and spoke about preserving racial purity. Another uncomfortable issue involved his views on India's caste system, which critics say he never fully challenged. None of this erases his role in India's independence movement. It simply shows that famous leaders can achieve great things. The first Thanksgiving. Many people grew up hearing the same story about the first Thanksgiving. Pilgrims and Native Americans gathered around a table, shared a meal, and celebrated friendship together. But the real history is much more complicated. At the center of it was a man known as Squanto, whose real name was Tisquantum. Years before the Pilgrims arrived, he was kidnapped by British traders and sold into slavery. During that difficult journey, he learned English and eventually found a way to return home. But when he arrived, he found a tragedy waiting for him. Disease had swept through the region, killing thousands of indigenous people, including much of his own community. Despite everything he had endured, Tisquantum helped the Pilgrims survive. He taught them valuable skills and helped them communicate with the people already living there. The famous feast did happen, but it may not have been the simple celebration many people imagine today. Some accounts suggest that gunfire from the settlers alarmed nearby Wampanoag people, who feared conflict rather than friendship. And in the years that followed, Tensions between native communities and European settlers continued to grow. The legend survived. History often feels simple when we first learn it, but the closer we look, the more human, surprising, and complicated it becomes. So which of these historical myths shocked you the most? Share your thoughts about this in the comments below. If you found this video fascinating, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more amazing stories like this. We'll see you in the next one.